Hi, Ted Spalding here. I'm a Georgia personal injury trial attorney, and I'm not here to sell you anything. In this video, I'm going to tell you what stops people 75% of the time from getting paid after they've been injured in an accident. And I'm going to start right away with the best advice I can give someone who's been injured. And this is to not stop treatment on your own, which means you're not following medical advice. You're deciding on your own, treatment's not helping, I don't need to do it anymore, that sort of thing. So let me give you an example of it. So I had a client, really bad wreck. We took the case early on for that reason. He really needed the help working with insurance and that sort of thing. So he made the personal decision, I'm going to hire you right away, Ted, to handle my case. It was a big wreck, so the concern was he was going to be very injured. And so he progressed along, was doing the course that we told him would be best, which is go to an orthopedist first for these back and neck issues. Orthopedist managed his care, got him to physical therapy, those sorts of things. He then decides, I'm just going to stop treatment. Well, number one, he didn't even tell his lawyer, me, that he was thinking about this. So we didn't even get a chance to talk about it for me to give him the pros and cons. And so he stopped. We followed up with him, and that's how we found out he had stopped. And the bottom line is like, look, the doctor was saying I'm going to need shots and probably surgery, all of this. So why continue on with physical therapy? And I'm just not going to do the shots or any of that right now. But I need to be paid for all of that because I'm going to have to do it in the future at some point. And what I tried to explain to him is that's not how this works. This is why this is so dangerous. The insurance company's hoping you're going to do things like this. It will not pay for things that can't be proven, number one. And number two, they'll fight paying future medical costs, because the idea being, well, we're going to pay you for it and then you're just never going to do it. Kind of like property damage, where people get a property damage check to fix their vehicle and then never go and do it and just drive it with the bumper messed up or whatever it ends up being. So it hamstrings your attorney. In this case, he didn't have any documentation that he needed shots. He certainly didn't have any documentation in the records that the opinion was he's surgical. Doctors say a lot of things verbally that they don't put on the record, because they're not willing to do it officially. They know where it's headed, but it's not official yet. You've got to have these recommendations in writing to even have a shot at arguing it as a future item of damage. Number two, once you say, no, I'm not going to treat anymore, and you stop, even if it is in writing, the insurance company is going to say, see, clearly they're not going to have it. So that's going to be our defense that, yeah, he could have gotten shots, but he didn't do it. So he didn't think it was necessary. We're not going to pay for something he's not going to do. And jurors likely will say the same thing. If you're saying you're not going to have it, but maybe I'll do it in the future, but pay me for it in case I do, that's not how it works. So you've got to get all the way through your treatment. Yes, it's your body. You get to make the decision. If you have a religious reason or other personal reason that you want to stop treatment, you cannot do it any further, that's a different scenario. Still have to do it understanding what it means for the value of your case, but just stopping because, oh, I don't think it was working, no. The doctor needs to say that. It needs to be in writing. Hey, physical therapy isn't working, now we're going to go to shots. Or shots aren't working, now we're going to get a surgical recommendation because we've tried all conservative care and it has failed. That's the correct way to go through your treatment to build the compensation for all of these injuries and this treatment, whether it's future or not. So please be careful and don't play doctor. Follow doctor's advice, get through the end of your treatment. The whole point of this exercise is to get better physically, regardless of the compensation. But that then also naturally just helps you get the compensation you deserve. Number two, that's making a low initial settlement offer with the adjuster. So negotiations, you should start arbitrarily higher than what your bottom line is that you're willing to take. And what I see a lot of people doing on their own is they just go right to what they're willing to take. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. Insurance companies don't work that way. Their brain is totally different. It's a negotiation. Your supposed to start high, they start low, you come down, they come up, and you find something in the middle in negotiating. That's how these insurance adjusters are trained. So you come in and you say, look, $20,000, that's what I need, take it or leave it. You can do that, but you got to be ready to leave it, because they're not going to just give you the 20 grand. They're going to say, oh, well, we got room, 5 grand. Okay. So you got to know that. So don't start low, because then that's the cap. You start at 20, the adjuster's looking at it and going, ooh, I'm going to get this done for 10. So you need to start at 40 if you want to end up at 20. So be real careful with initial offers. If you're doing this on your own, don't start at your bottom line number. You want to start higher than that. Now, don't go nuts. All right. If a case is worth $40,000, don't start at $1 million. No one's going to take it seriously. That number needs to still be rational. And that, again, is where lawyers can really help if you're struggling with valuation and all of that. The next tip is, don't believe the adjuster on the value. So even when we get involved, we get these comments from adjusters. Oh, Ted, I've got the case valued at X. Well, look, adjusters are oftentimes wrong. Again, remember, they are not your friend. They are trying to get this case settled for as little compensation as possible. That's their job. We don't like it, but we understand this is what they're doing. It's an adversarial process. That's the way it is. So don't just believe them. Well, the adjuster called me and said, your case is worth 5 grand. That's what I have it at. That's the value. No, negotiate. Okay. And oftentimes they're wrong. Let me give you a great example. I had a really tragic case where the husband of the deceased spouse, his wife, passed away. She fell over a residential deck railing that was below code. Of course, at the time, we didn't know that for sure. We just knew that this was real weird. She falls in the middle of the night and falls to 13, 14 feet, dies 2 hours later. So it's a wrongful death case. We get involved, and initially it's get out there to inspect it. But I talked with the adjuster, and the adjuster's going, Ted, look, we don't see any liability here. We've got this valued at $10,000. Well, we got our experts. We found the low railing right where she fell, below code. And even then, presented with it, the adjuster said, well, look, Ted, we really had it still at 10. We can probably go to 25,000, but look, there's no liability here. That's our value. Now, it was take it or leave it. So my client either takes $25,000 and is done for the death of his wife, or we file a lawsuit. So we disagreed with the adjuster and filed a lawsuit. We litigated the case. They had good attorneys on the other side. And before trial, the case settled. And the case settled for half of the insurance proceeds. Over $600,000 that case settled for. Yes, there were liability issues, some big ones, quite frankly. I can't go into all the details, but it was a very, very bizarre story. But we got a fantastic result, even with the liability fight. And look, we got $600,000 where the adjuster's max value pre-suit to me on the phone, in all honesty, was $25,000. So don't take it with a grain of salt. That's their opinion. They're oftentimes wrong. Don't just say, well, that's what they say, so I'll just take it. Be very mindful and careful of that. The last advice I can give that keeps people 75% of the time, in my opinion, from getting paid after an accident when they're injured is not looking for all available insurance money. This is, I believe, the most valuable reason to hire an attorney pre-suit, is to make sure every rock has been turned over looking for insurance. And there's oftentimes very unique circumstances. You're not going to know as a layperson that, oh, wouldn't have ever thought that insurance applies to this case. Insurance, there's things like resident relative statute where your relatives living with you, their on their vehicles apply. And then there's even more that goes into it. So to give you a good example, I had a young man come to me 3 months ago in a really bad motorcycle wreck with a flooring company truck. And we reached out and the adjuster gave us the policy information. $25,000 is all that was on the vehicle. That kind of raised red flags with me because I'm going, gosh, a commercial vehicle normally has a lot more coverage. They really cheaped out on their coverage. I'm not convinced. And he has hundreds of thousands of dollars in bills already, multiple broken bones, been out of work since the wreck. So he really needs it. So we dug in. I looked at the policy language, and believe it or not, on like page 20, down in the fine print, it mentioned that they had looked at and confirmed CGL. That's all it said. Well, CGL is commercial general liability. So that's not an auto policy. That's a general liability policy that companies can purchase in case you fall at their store, someone gets hurt on the job, or auto wrecks. It can provide extra coverage. So we started digging into it, and we started getting the initial response, oh, I don't see a CGL policy. That's why I told you 25 is all that's there. We don't have one. I kept digging, fighting. Hey, wait, what about this? It looks like it could have been Travelers or this. Oh, here's the Travelers policy. It expired. They didn't renew it. Okay, well, that's odd. And guess what? Fight. 3 months later, not letting it go, they found an AIG policy of $1 million. And my guy started crying on the phone when I told him, because I had to tell him all along, this isn't looking good. The percentage chances that we get lucky and we find something are extremely low. I've been doing this 20 years. It's very rare it works out in my client's favor. We're going to do it because even if we have a 5% chance, we got to do it because you need it, but don't bank on it. So he started bawling when I told him, oh my God, it worked. We found the policy. The insurance company would have quickly given us the $25,000, said, as we told you, this is all that's there. They looked in a file, and that's probably all they did. They didn't really dig. So we had to do the digging. This is why you hire an attorney early on. My client would have taken the $25,000 if I told him that was it without digging and moved on with all the extreme losses that he has. And he's only 23 years old. Horrible situation. But there again, it's almost both of my pieces of advice, which is don't take what the adjuster says to heart, trust but verify, right? They told me that's all that's there. Didn't seem right to me. I kept digging. Still said there wasn't anything. I still dug. And turned out they were wrong. There was more coverage. So this is real important because it can be the difference between $25,000 and $1.025 million of coverage. So these are my tips, things that people can do that will kill your ability to get paid after you've been injured in an accident. And as I say in the title, 75% of the time, it's going to kill your ability to get paid for the compensation you deserve. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I want you to watch this other video here that we're going to put up. It's another one of my videos on YouTube, and it goes through how personal injury lawyers determine settlement value. Thank you so much. Have a great day.